Hello and welcome to About the House. The Clerk of the House of Representatives is a non-elective administrative officer from the Department of the House of Representatives, and he or she can hold the position for up to 10 years. The department itself is not part of the executive government of Australia. However, it is responsible to the Speaker of the House and, in fact, conducts the election for Speaker. The current clerk, David Elder, is the longest-standing employee of the department. I sat down with David and asked about his journey to this point and what the clerk actually does.
I suppose in many ways the primary role would certainly be seen to be the primary advisor to the Speaker and the House and to members on parliamentary practice and procedure. I'm sure that most people would see that as the sort of key role and very traditional role of the Clerk of the House, but I'm also the head of an organisation, so I have very important chief executive officer responsibilities as the head of a department of 150 to 160 staff, and so that occupies a lot of my time as well. So it's really a very interesting sort of dual role that you have, and you really need sort of skills and capacities across both those areas of responsibility.
Your procedural knowledge is just extraordinary. We see that in the chamber. How long have you been here?
So I've been here 34 years. I've been here since 1981, so yeah, it's a very long time. And yeah, I suppose parliamentary procedure and practice is one of those things that perhaps you acquire a little bit like osmosis. It's a gradual process of acquiring the degree of knowledge and understanding, and the culture of the place is really important as well. It's not just a matter of knowing what's in the standing orders or House of Representatives practice. It really is having a very good feel for the place, for where members come from, for how the institution operates. So all those things play into it, and inevitably experience is a very important part of all of that.
So does this make you a political junkie?
I'm definitely not a political junkie. I'm always, in fact, very pleased that I'm a political observer. I'm not a political player. I naturally, I take a great interest in politics. You have to. I mean, if you didn't have a very strong understanding of what was happening in the political environment, you wouldn't really be able to do the job that I do. I mean, it's a bit like, doing research for your job. Certainly understanding that political environment is absolutely critical. But I'd have to say, probably after a fortnight of sittings, I'm quite happy to switch off politics for a little while. So definitely not a political junkie, no, but I'm obviously someone with a great interest in politics, and someone who's, a very keen and close observer of politics and politicians. Yeah.
Tell us about the historical origins of the clerk.
Yeah, so they date back. The first clerk was appointed to the United Kingdom House of Commons over 650 years ago, back in the 1360s. So it's a very, in fact, the clerk was appointed prior to a speaker being appointed to the House of Commons. So the clerk actually predates the speaker, which is sort of quite interesting. And yeah, so a very historical role. I mean, back in those early days, most people didn't read and write, and one of the things a clerk could do was read and write. And we still have some of those rather strange procedures from those days. So, for example, when a bill is introduced, it has what we call a first reading, and the clerk reads the long title of the bill. But back in those days, the clerk would have read the full contents of the bill, because members wouldn't have been otherwise able to read the provisions of particular bills. So fortunately these days we don't read the full contents of the bill, the 1,000 pages of a corporations bill or something like that. We just read the long title, but it does make that connection back to history and tradition, and so we go through 3 readings of a bill, and on each occasion that would have been done back in those days, the poor old clerk would have been reading the entire contents of the bill. Fortunately, I mean, bills in those days would have been quite short, and it probably wouldn't have taken too long to do the readings.
For more interviews with key players inside the House, see the About the House TV website.